Entitled mom tries to steal my baby and gets what she deserves. This happened when my daughter was about 4 months old. And let's meet the wonderful and not so wonderful cast. Me, BB, my daughter, EM, entitled mom beast, EB, entitled mom beast spawn, 5-ish, setting, local coffee shop. One afternoon, after our mommy and me yoga class, I know it sounds dumb, but a great way to meet mommy friends, me and my daughter BB decide to get a coffee and catch up. Well, I would get coffee, and she would get that sweet, sweet booby milk. Well, BB, the lightweight that she is, passes out after that first boob milk. I decide to be wild and get that second cup of coffee. I'm drinking my second cup of coffee when a wild EK and EM appear, entitled kid and entitled mother. The entitled kid says, "Aw, a baby!" I smile but go back to reading the news and sipping my coffee. When I look up, the entitled kid is trying to pick up my sleeping baby. I panicked, obviously. Me, yelling, no. Entitled mother, "Oh, she wasn't hurting her." The entitled kid, whining, "I want to hold the baby." Me, "She's sleeping, and you're too little to hold her, honey. She's heavy." Entitled mother, "Oh, just let her hold her. EK is very mature." Me, "She's not a baby doll. No." EM, "You don't have to be a female dog about it." "Excuse me?" I said. During this time, the entitled kid tried to pick up BB and wakes her up. So BB starts crying. I pick her up and start hushing her. Me, "See what you did? Leave us alone." Entitled mother, "She just wants to hold your daughter. What's wrong?" As she tries to grab BB. Me, "What the hell?" Gets up and turns to keep BB away. BB cries. Entitled mother, "Just let her hold her," while she keeps trying to steal the baby. Me, I open hand punch her in the nose. At this point, the coffee shop employees jump in and pull her away. One of them says that they called the police. EM's nose is bleeding, EK is sobbing. I kind of feel bad for the kid. She's pretty little, but her mom should teach her better. The employees ask us to stay and wait for the police. EM, "Good. She assaulted me and traumatized my child." BB is still crying, so I give her that boob. "She's exposing herself to a child. What a pedo." I ignore her and BB finally calms down. The police came and asked us each what happened. Entitled mother, "She exposed herself to my daughter and she assaulted me." Me, scared that I'm going to jail. "This isn't true. She tried to steal my baby. I was just protecting her." Luckily, the coffee place had cameras and she got arrested for attempted kidnapping, and I have to go to court for it next month. 1, this lady has a sense of humor, so I like her already. 2, that mother is absolutely insane and her child will probably grow up to be the same way. And 3, this feels like a Seinfeld plotline. Anyway, continuing. Update 1. We go to court on April 14th for the criminal charges against the entitled mother for attempted kidnapping. I didn't expect to update before then, but then this happened. Me, it's a me, DG, delivery man / disguised guy, EM, entitled mother, EK, entitled kid. Me and BB went to the park this morning, and we got back around 11 a.m. And when we got there was a man standing on our porch looking lost. BB was in her stroller sleeping. I put my hand in my purse and onto my mace. Me, "Can I help you?" "Yeah, I'm looking for first name, last name. I have a package for her." He pulls out a thick envelope. It was Cardi B level thick. I'm her, I can take it. I take the Cardi B envelope, and as soon as it's in my hands and I sign for it, the delivery guy rips off his fake mustache and delivery guy hat, revealing his real identity. A legal intern. DG, cool. You're being sued, by the way. Good luck. Yup, that's right, I'm being sued by the entitled mother. Why would the woman who tried to snatch my baby be suing me? How much damage could I have inflicted? Well, apparently I did $25,000 in damage. In this poor envelope was about 10 million pages detailing how she is suing me for everything that is wrong in her life. Apparently I had broken her nose, so she's suing me for not only related medical bills, but she also wants me to pay for them to fix her pre-existing toad nose. Oh, and of course, emotional damages to her and her child. Apparently EM has anxiety and depression because of me. EK has PTSD from the incident. Finally, I'm also being sued for slander and character assassination because how dare I say she tried to steal my baby? Of course, at the end, she said she would be willing to settle out of court if I would drop the criminal charges. Well, I took that letter to my lawyer and he said the judge would laugh her out of court, especially if the criminal trial goes in our favor, which is basically guaranteed. So I will be seeing her in court on April 14th, and I will see her again in July for the civil case. Oh my god, This is a Seinfeld episode, can't you see it? She is a female version of Jerry as a mother and is encountering the weirdo of the week, except it's real life and takes place over the course of several months. Anyway, the entitled mother is completely insane. Let's continue. Update 2. Firstly, thanks everyone for the support and love. I can't wait to tell BB about all of this when she gets older. Wednesday, we found out the verdict on EM. TLDR at the end, but let's meet the cast. J, Judge. EM entitled Mom. ED entitled Dad. EK entitled Kid. Jury, the jury. P, Prosecutor. EL entitled Mother's Lawyer. Me, and Mr., my darling husband. Scene. This chapter opens April 15th, 2019, approximately 9:30 a.m. We are at our local courthouse. Me and Mr. had dropped off BB at his mother's. I had considered bringing her and breastfeeding while EM was on the stand, just to irritate her, but I didn't think a 8-month-old would be able to sit quietly for that long. Instead, I brought my 384-month-old husband. We went to the courthouse, and I will admit, I was nervous. We took our seats behind the prosecutor, and we were just chatting with her. EM enters with her lawyer, and if looks could kill, I would be dead. The judge and jury enter, and we are ready to get started. As we were getting started, the judge is interrupted by entitled dad and entitled kid entering the courtroom, in possibly the noisiest way to enter a room. Disclaimer, these were 3 very long, stressful days, so I will be paraphrasing a lot. Judge. EM, you are charged with attempted kidnapping, first-degree assault, disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct. How do you plead? Entitled mother says, Your Honor, I am 100% innocent. In fact, I am outraged that I stand accused of wrongdoing. I am a proud American and the biggest supporter of these proud, fair, and just. Jay, already looking done with her crap, please sit down. EM, shocked, but now, she sits. The judge says, We will now proceed to opening statements. Prosecutor? P, the prosecutor lays out the case, succinctly explaining that entitled mother was a dangerous woman who attempted to rip a small baby from its mother's arms. The EM starts screaming, No, that isn't true. The judge says, EL, tell EM to be quiet. Prosecutor, there is a clear, indisputable evidence that EM is guilty on all counts. The prosecutor wraps up his opening statement in under about 5 minutes, explaining that the whole situation was caught on tape and that the evidence will speak for itself. The defense's opening statement was about 40 minutes long. He gave this creature's whole life story. She couldn't possibly be guilty. She was your typical suburban soccer mom, president of her HOA, active in her church, blah, 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 blah. Apparently, because the statements established character, they weren't off topic enough to make the judge tell EL to shut up and sit down. EL talked so long that after they concluded, the judge dismissed us for the day. We come back the second day, and before the trial starts, my husband goes and grabs us a cup of pure caffeine from a booth in the courthouse. He's putting cream and sugar in it when ED approaches. Entitled dad. Hey man, how you doing? Mister. Fine. This whole mess is crazy. Yup. Look man, what will happen to my daughter if her mom goes to jail? It's not good for a kid. Yeah, that's rough. Sorry. Well, you could tell your wife to drop the charges, do what's best for the kids. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Come on, man, be reasonable. If your wife was reasonable, we wouldn't be here. F word to the N word, he says. Mister, get out of here, man. And he walks away. The second day of the court starts. Prosecution lays out the evidence, including the tape, calls witnesses, and all that prosecution stuff. When the prosecution calls witnesses, the defense also gets to ask them questions. They were trying to cast doubt on all of the witnesses, I guess to make it seem like it was all of a witch hunt against the entitled mom. Finally, it was my turn to testify and be questioned. I told my story for the prosecution, then this foolishness ensued. Entitled lawyer says, It seems like you were first to raise your voice. Would you say that is accurate? I suppose so. So that would make you the instigator. I don't think. Cuts me off. You claim that EM insulted you. Yes. Did EM strike you at any point during this altercation? Well, not exactly strike. Did you strike EM at any point? Yes, but it was to. The jury will notice that this woman has admitted to not only being the instigator, but also the aggressor in this situation. After the prosecution lays out their evidence, it is the defense's turn. It is at this point EM takes the stand. EM tells her twisted version of events. According to her, her daughter had seen my baby and had approached me to tell me about how beautiful BB was. In response to this totally innocent interaction, I began verbally abusing entitled kid. She attempted to calm me, but this backfired. When I violently snatched up BB, she couldn't help but notice that it was very unlikely that BB was mine. Seeing an unstable woman snatching up an innocent, probably kidnapped baby, EM just had to intervene. When she did, I viciously attacked her. So day 3 is verdict and sentencing. On the charge of attempted kidnapping, the jury decided that there was not enough evidence to conclude that she wanted to kidnap BB. not guilty. On the charge of assault, the jury was not convinced by her lawyer's attempt to demonize me, guilty. Disturbing the peace and disorderly conduct, the tapes and witnesses led to a guilty verdict. Now we get to the part you all have been waiting for, sentencing! Entitled Mother was sentenced to 18 months of probation, 40 hours of community service, 30 hours of anger management, and $730 in fines. This all goes on her criminal record, and if she violates her probation or does not do what she is required, she will spend those 18 months in prison. While I know many of us were hoping for jail time, I am satisfied with this outcome, and I think it is fair. We left feeling pretty good. We have to go back to court in a few months for the civil case, though. Wow! The entitled mother married a racist dad. They deserve each other. This dude dropped the hard R in a government building. Good grief. Personally, I was hoping for jail time, but this is a good outcome. She still has a kid who needs a mother, preferably a better mother. But anyway, continuing. Update 3 on previously, how did my life become so bonkers insane? Yes, this is an update, but I'll start with a recap. I took my infant daughter out for our weekly coffee date. While there, an entitled mother with her daughter appeared and tried to grab my baby. She left with a broken nose and some criminal charges. I left with BB, my daughter, and a ridiculous lawsuit. Me and my husband go to her criminal court trial, and her husband says some racist BS to my husband. She is found guilty on most of her charges and is sentenced to probation and some therapy. Episode whatever in this melodrama. This is new stuff, by the way. This civil case was supposed to be on July 9th, but the case was dropped. I was so happy. After months of this crap, I was ready to put all of this behind me and move on with our lives. I don't know why I was so naive. I should have known that a crazy entitled mother like that would not give up so easily. One evening, on my way back from our mommy and me yoga class, I noticed a woman parked across the street from my house. I thought it was EM, but I brushed it off, thinking that I was paranoid because all of this started after one of our classes. I took BB inside and got her settled. When I looked out the window, the car was gone. I went about my business until Saturday. The weather on this particular Saturday morning was gorgeous, so I decided to take BB to the park. It was still early, about 9 a.m., and that car was parked on my street again. But this time, it was empty. We walked to the park and were there for about 30 minutes before I noticed the same car again, empty. I knew it was the same car because of the hideous seat covers, pink leopard print, ugh. I was a little on edge, so I gathered up BB and started to leave. Then, I see her. She was about 15 feet away from us, and it was definitely the entitled mother. EM was there, but her daughter was nowhere in sight. I was starting to worry that she had moved onto my street. When I got home, it was empty, which is normal because my husband likes to go to the gym a little later on Saturday. So I got BB a snack and called my neighbor/friend. I asked her if she knows if anyone moved to the street lately. She didn't think anyone did. Neither of us had noticed any sign of a move, not that we pay specifically any attention to that. I told her about seeing entitled mother, and we both decided that was probably a coincidence. We chatted for a little while until it was time for BB's nap, and as soon as I finished putting her down, we went downstairs and my husband came in. It calmed my nerves to see him, at least until we had this conversation. Were you expecting someone this morning? No, why? I thought I heard someone knocking on the door this morning, but by the time I got downstairs, they were already gone. Right away, I was on edge. I thought about that empty car. Even if it wasn't EM, why would someone just knock and leave like that? I told my husband about seeing EM and decided that it could be a coincidence or it might not. So we will keep an eye out and the police on speed dial. Everything was normal for a few days, but then I see the car again. This continued for about a week to 2 weeks. I would see the car and then it would be back a few days later. It would be at different times and places. I began to feel paranoid, like I was being watched all the time. One day I tried to confront her, but she drove away. At the 2-week mark, I decided that I had had enough and would go to the police station the next morning. And that is exactly what I did. The police handled everything just like I thought they would. By that, I mean they treated me like I was a crazy person and told me that a car being on a public street is not a crime. And since no threats had been made, there was not much that they could or would do. It was a great waste of time for everyone. About 2 days later, I was leaving for work when I noticed that all 4 of my tires had been slashed. The next weekend, I was working in the garden while BB played next to me. I noticed a little blue-green pellet that I immediately recognized. It was rat poison. I was outraged that the city would just throw poison into people's lawns. What if BB would have eaten it? I also have a cat that could die if they ate a poisoned rat. Luckily, he's an indoor cat. I was complaining to my neighbor, ready to turn into a Karen myself, when he told me 2 things that turned my stomach and left me gagging. 1. No one else has or has ever found rat poison pellets in their yard. And 2. When the city does do rat control, they only put poison in the rat burrows. I wouldn't have them just randomly in the yard. And I was horrified. My daughter could have eaten one of those. I called the police non-emergency line and told them what was happening. And again, I was dismissed. My daughter could have died and they acted like no big deal. I was told that they would look into it and that was that. I'm just going to list some of the things that happened over the next few weeks. My garden was torn up by a person who literally just ripped up handfuls of flowers. I saw that car 15 times. Next, someone set up an automatic wake-up call for my phone at 3 a.m. Once I figured out how to get the auto calls to stop, someone would call me and hang up to 3 times a day. I would block the number and a new number would call. We went away for a few days, and while we were gone, I received a photo text from outside of my house with the message, "See you soon." I immediately rushed us home, and when we got there, someone had thrown a rock through my window. This was the last straw for me. I rushed into mama bear mode. I took my daughter to my mother's, and my husband went to the store and picked up some security cameras. We called the police, took photos, and looked for our cat. He was hiding under our porch. My husband set up the cameras, and I filed for an emergency protection order. In my state, when you file for one of those, they go into effect immediately, and there is a hearing later to determine if it will be permanent and all that. Things calmed down for a few days, and I brought BB home. I thought maybe the order would keep EM away because if she broke it, she would violate her parole and spend time in jail. Again, I underestimated crazy. I'm gonna put a trigger warning for the rest of this paragraph because this is so effed up. So just be warned. If you aren't ready, skip to the next paragraph. One evening, I came home from work and picking up BB, and I walked up to the door. On my porch, there is a black, mostly empty garbage bag. BB was still sleeping from the car ride, so I put her inside the house and came back out. I thought it may have been my husband being careless. I thought it could have been trash or dirty gym clothes or something that he was going to donate or whatever. So I looked inside. Before any conscious thought registered, I was gagging from the smell of decomposition. Inside that bag was a dismembered cat. It was warm, possibly from the summer heat. I immediately panicked. I went back inside, crying, calling, and searching for our cat. In my emotional state, I had woken up BB and she was screaming and crying too. Our cat was up in our bedroom, taking a nap and very much alive. I was so overwhelmed by my emotions. I was happy that our cat was okay, but that didn't stop the panic attack that followed. I called my husband, hyperventilating as our BB continued to cry, and told him to get home now. Luckily, he was already on the way. My husband called the police on his way, and they arrived soon after he did. They took photos and watched the security camera footage. The cameras clearly showed EM leaving the bag on my porch. We gave the police the footage and the bag. I took BB to my mom's again. I was going to stay too, but I had to clean up my house. The bag leaked on the porch, and in my panic, I tracked it through the house. Me and my husband returned home, cleaned up. I also had to have another meltdown. We stayed at my mom's overnight. In the morning, I had a meeting with the police, so my mom stayed with BB and my husband went to work. The police took my statement and let me know that they were already working with a judge and expected to pick up EM by tonight or tomorrow. I was just ready for this all to be over. I felt powerless. While I'm in BB's room, I look out the window. It faces the backyard, and I see EM out in our shed rummaging around. I flew into an immediate rage and was already halfway down the stairs before I stopped myself. I went back into BB's room and called the police. I told them that someone was breaking in. While I was on the phone, EM walked up and tried to open my back door. It was locked, so I don't know what she thought turning the handle would do. I crept downstairs. I went into my kitchen, I looked out the window, and EM was walking towards my back door again. So I moved over and stood against the wall and the back door. I thought she was going to try the door again, but instead she broke my window. Instinctively, I grabbed the closest thing off the counter. She looked into the door, and I hit her with it. She fell back and her nose was bleeding again. Apparently, I hit her with a dirty baking tray. She got up and I raised the tray again, but she started to run the other way, around to the front of the house. Just as she made it to the front yard, the police were getting out of their cars. I opened the front door, tray in hand, and just in time to hear this. EM, thank God you got here in time. Someone broke into my home and attacked me. Get in there and shoot her. There she is now, and she's armed. Shoot her. When she screams and pointed at me, the cop immediately pulled his gun at me. I immediately dropped the tray and froze up. I really thought he was going to shoot me. The cop lowers his gun. Another squad car pulls up and 2 more officers start getting out of the car. There are a total of 4 cop cars in my yard. and I'm still frozen. Entitled mother says, "What are you doing? Shoot her!" Cop 1, "Ma'am, I need you to calm down." Another cop walks up and goes to grab my arm. I pull away on reflex. Me, "This is my house." Entitled mother says, "She's lying. Look at me. She clearly attacked me." Me, "Because you broke my window and were coming in." She says, "How dare you? I have lived here for years." Me, "You lying SOB." I must have moved towards her because the cop next to me grabs me by the arm. I'll be honest, I wasn't thinking really clear. Me, "Let me go. This is my house." EM starts crying. "See, she's crazy. Thank God you came when he did." Cop 1, "It's okay, ma'am. Follow me to the squad car so I can take your statement." 2 cops go with her to the car, and 2 stand with me on the porch. I'm shocked and freaking out, but I start thinking clearly again. "This is my house." Cop 2 says, "Okay." "I can prove it." Finally not being an idiot. "Okay," he says. "My purse is inside by the stairs. My license is in there." Cop 2 nods at Cop 3, and Cop 3 goes inside and comes back out with my purse. She goes through it and pulls out my license. Cop 2 and 3 nod at each other. Cop 3 walks down into the yard and waves Cop 4 over. They talk for a moment, and Cop 4 goes back over to 1 and entitled mother. 3 returns to me. Cop 3 says, "We're sorry, miss. Cop 4 pulled up the police report from yesterday. I'm sorry about the stress. At least she was caught in the act, blah, 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 blah." Well, Cop 3 was talking to me. Cop 4 was talking to EM. I'm not sure what was said, but EM turned even paler than she already is. And she tried to run away. But she didn't get very far and ended up eating pavement. A few minutes later, I was giving another statement, and EM was glaring at me as she was driven away. After I gave my statement and the cops took a few photos, the cops left. I called my husband home again. He stayed and cleaned up and had to board up our window. We stayed at my mom's for another 2 days. We didn't go home until we found out EM was denied bail. In the end, she was found to have violated her parole, so she must spend the rest of her sentence in jail. They also added a stalking charge, animal cruelty, and breaking and entering. I suspect that she will be in jail for a few years at least. I really hope that this is my last update, and I am also really grateful that so many people showed concern after my last post. Oh my goodness, what a freaking roller coaster. She broke into the house and said, "Yo, cop, I broke in, shoot the lady who lives here." What? That's insane. I'm glad that she got jail time now. Like, now I'm just like, whatever, screw it. The only thing I'm slightly worried about is that someone like that might hold a grudge, get out of prison, and say, "I'm back." So maybe they might need to move. I don't know. But it seems like everything worked out relatively fine. No one got hurt, except for the house and the emotional damage. But no one got physically hurt. Well, except for the lady breaking and entering. She ate pavement, but she deserved it. All right, I'm done.